See, the time is 10, and I do believe we don't have to wait for quorum in the room since mine is a medical and I'm counted as quorum.
Right.
Okay. Either I can lead this off, Brian, or you can. Either way, I led it remotely during admin and it worked okay, but I'm fine with also since you're in the room if you'd like to lead.
I'm totally agnostic about that and defer to your leadership. I'm entirely comfortable with you running it or delegating that to me, whatever's your convenience.
Okay. I mean, I can do it. It's fine. It's no big deal.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, I would like to call the environmental committee to order on April 1st. Could you please call roll, Jen? I think or Leah. All right.
Alina Lane,
Here.
Ryan Largay,
Here.
and Mike Duffy.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No.
All right. Thank you. All right. Any oral communications from the public? I
Nobody in the
see.
room and nobody online.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we can go on to new business. We have item 4A. It's the amended and restated contract for Denise Duffy and Associations for the Felton Heights tank replacement. I assume that Chris, are you taking that one?
Yeah, Janelle
Or
will be
Janelle?
presenting this one, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so this is the Felton Heights Tank Replacement Project is a project that's been ongoing from around 2013. There have been several delays. The tank site, the location, the COVID-19 pandemic, staffing, many different delays. But in 2022, the project was finalized. There was a final site that was selected, and that's at the end of Lost Acre Drive in Felton. And so around 2022 is also when the environmental RFP went out to select an environmental consultant to start the environmental review and the permitting process for the tank replacement project. And so at that time, there were four people that submitted an RFP. The best one that was selected was Denise Duffy and Associates. Since then, their contract has expired. And so right now, the district is in the process of the final process of purchasing that 0.7 acre parcel for the tank replacement project. So we're in the process again of starting that environmental review. Start the permitting process for that project. And so in starting that, we reached out to Denise Duffy and Associates, and they are interested in continuing their environmental services for that project. But because their contract did expire, we're proposing to amend and restate the contract. Because of the time elapsed and a few changes to the project that have happened since then, their costs did increase. And so we're proposing to move forward with the contract with the cost increase. And we're hoping that you can discuss and recommend to the board to proceed with the contract amendment and restating it as well. So with that, if you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
All right. Do you have anything to ask or add, Michael Duffy?
Yeah, thank you. It's like speaking to a higher power. It's like I'm back in church. Okay, so okay, you answered one of mine regarding the multiple bids at the time. Can you just quickly framework how big of a actual like footprint are we talking about here? And like the process, like I for $80,000 is like both a large amount and a very small amount of money, right? Recognizing the process. So is this getting the process for the county permit, or is this getting what permits? Or is this getting with the state water permit, or and also is this just a tank footprint, or is this intakes, lines? What exactly is the process of the project itself?
Yeah, so this would be for everything from start to finish, from reviewing the site itself to determining which permits are actually needed. They've already preliminarily believe that ISMND, an initial study mitigate negative declaration is going to be needed for this project. Two of the tasks are optional in that the task number 2, which is the biological resource survey, that will determine if further permitting with like federal or state agencies are needed. And that's what task number 9 and 10 are related to. And that's why they're optional, because it is not yet known right now if they're needed. But if they are needed based on their surveys that they will do, that are needed for the entire process of starting the ISMND process, then those are proposed as well. But my understanding is that they're going to look at the entire site, and potentially they look at like a little buffer area around it for their environmental review. But maybe, I don't know if Chris, you have more information on that.
Yeah, I mean, the ISMND is for CEQA. And so that is the main thing that we're trying to fulfill here. But there are obviously other permits that come along with it. Depending on what they find out there may be additional permits. But yeah, generally this would cover mainly CEQA, but then also associated water rights permits. And in terms of the infrastructure it covers, everything is on site. So anything from, I'm not entirely sure if there's a pump station, but if there is one on site, and all the piping, all the tank, the foundation, everything that's associated.
Okay, and so that this 81, at least the way you view it, the value associated with this contract proposal would be somewhat of a not to exceed at this point, and so it could come in lower?
Yeah.
Okay. And then is a tank replacement, but yet we are also purchasing that property. Is there currently a tank in this position, or is this a new tank is going to be put here and another tank's going to be taken out?
Yes.
Is that other tank removal part of this environmental review, or is that considered to be a separate process? Or does it need to be?
We don't believe that tank removal is going to be really an impact to the environment, as you're not really doing ground disturbance. So that is not something that is considered as part of this. And the first part of your question was?
It's a new site.
Oh yeah, it is a new site.
Okay.
Which is why it's going to be projected to be an I-7D rather than a exemption or whatever that a lot of our other tank replacements are.
Right.
Because it's a new site, so there will be new ground disturbance. I think there might be a few trees removed. So that kind of stuff is why it kind of pushes it into the territory of the next level of review.
Yeah, and can you remind again why the replacement necessary strictly based upon age of infrastructure, or is this something that is a better, more efficient location that's going to provide better service?
Yeah, so it's both really. The current tank that is providing service to the 21 homes, it's about 10,000 gallons of effective water storage, which is not meeting the fire flow requirements, but also in terms of providing water to that many houses, it's undersized, and also it's at the end of its lifespan as well. So the new tank is not only bigger to provide a more effective delivery of water to these houses, but also it's big enough that it'll meet the fire flow, and also in the future, if more water is needed for other projects, such as maybe needing to fill up the Spring and Bennett tank nearby, it's big enough to do all of those different services. So it's a better location in terms of water capacity and the services that it can provide as well.
So that was going to be a follow-up there. It does seem that it is a rather small group of homes, and while I'm sure they're all extremely important and all that, and they do need water, I just wonder, is the cost of this work, is this under grants, or is this coming out of rate funds?
The design of the tank is, I believe, going to be under grant, but this environmental review will not be.
So just this part of it, but the work to replace the tank will be grant?
It will not. We had a grant that we originally thought may cover the cost of the replacement, but we kind of will be spending that up on other tanks.
Okay.
So yeah,
And so would the design of this system be eventually to tie into maybe the rest of the system to provide potential emergency water in case of fires and such?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So they're planning to put in a fire hydrant as well for that.
Oh, great. Thank you. That's it.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I got stuck in Santa Cruz.
All right. Thank you, Michael, for those questions. And just for clarification for you, since you're kind of jumping in on this, with the Felton Heights tank replacement, it was supposed to go back on the same site originally. And then there were some concerns with the homeowners as far as the visibility of those tanks. And another person had some property that was available that was make it a little bit more sightly for everyone. And so the district agreed to go along that route, and that's why we ended up purchasing that piece of land. And I understand there's also only 21 customers, but when we took over this municipality back in 2012, these are one of the things that that our water district had agreed to do. So they've been waiting quite a long time for this to happen. Just some more background for you. But yeah, I'll lead off with next with Director Largay. Give chance for our other committee member to settle in. Sorry, this is Director Lang talking to you from the heavens.
Thanks very much, Alina. Thanks very much. I appreciate the presentation and I guess the understanding that the wetland delineation and associated permitting with Cal Fish and Wildlife and the Army Corps would only happen if those resources are found. Based on your site visits, do you expect that there are wetlands there, or is it more of an upland site?
we don't expect that they're uplands or wetlands, sorry, but it is possible. So yeah, that optional task is less likely to be needed. But the permitting piece, the second optional task, or maybe the first one, whatever, we do expect to want to be part of the services, as our staff doesn't have experience with these type of permits, and so it would be helpful to have someone to help us through the process.
Gotcha. Thanks. And is that going to include like county grading and building permits? Do you know?
Usually engineering is more on that side of things,
I see.
but I am not entirely sure. Yeah, to be real.
I believe if it's environmental related, they will look into that. I saw in their proposal that they did mention Santa Cruz County permits.
Yep.
But I believe it's just environmental, not engineering related.
Right. So that would be through their planning division typically. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. One request I might make, and I don't know, this is more of a technical issue. A fair amount of the material in the packet is scanned paper that doesn't have text recognition applied to it. And there are tools within the PDF software environment, such as Adobe Acrobat, that can do text recognition on scanned PDFs. And the nice thing there is then it's searchable and easy to find key terms that might otherwise be hard to access. Most of the packet is entirely searchable, but there's just a few things like the earlier scope of work from Denise Duffy Associates that was scanned and not searchable. That's probably a bigger administrative issue of whether we have that software, want that software, could afford it, and all that stuff. But just a request to check it out if that's feasible. And then, yeah, I don't have other questions. Getting an ISMND for a project, even a modest one, for the fee proposed is sadly seems like the cost of doing business, and it'll be good to make sure that we're getting all the boxes checked with the agencies. So that's all I have, Alina. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. If we don't have that software that Brian is talking about, maybe that's possibly something that the committee can look at, and just, as far as ease of being able to look at documents and stuff like that, I think that's a good thing. So, thank you for that comment. Nikki Franks, do you have any questions or comments on this agenda item for the Felton Heights?
Nope, just catching up.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, just wanted to check in there. So what did I have for this? Not a whole lot. I just, just want to make sure you think that we're not too far out on this project to restart this contract. But it seems like you're confident that we're moving along.
Yeah, talking to Garrett this morning, it sounds like our timeline is he's planning construction to start next summer. And based on their schedule, it seems like they're planning for about a 12-month process. So that would put us right on track to, yeah, be on time.
Okay, perfect. And, hate to pay more money, but that's the cost of delay. So, yeah, I have no further comments. Do we have any further comments from the board? Michael Duffy?
Yeah, I did. Alina, I appreciate your insight earlier, and I just there was. I just want to verify that we're not asking our ratepayers to spend a bunch of extra money because the beneficiaries of this water tank think it's unsightly to fix the water tank where it is. And I guess that's okay, but I really want to focus on like it's going to provide a benefit to the rest of the community, not we're not. I mean, because unless these guys are shouldering all the burden of the cost, I don't know that the rest of the water district ratepayers really should be on the hook if people just find a big water tank unsightly where it already is located. That's not to say that it's wrong, and you seem to say fire and everything else, which I'm totally supportive of. I just want to make sure we're making it clear that there's other benefits outside of they don't like the ugly big tank where it is. So I just, if we're asking everybody else in our community to pay for it, I think it's important we highlight the actual benefits to the community. So yeah, it's not just a vision thing. And I just wanted to ask one other follow-up. You had mentioned at the beginning that we had 4 bids and that Denise Duffy's group was the best. Does that mean cheapest or does that mean best?
They were the second to cheapest.
Okay.
And from looking at the way they reviewed it, they just seemed to have the best, like they were very detailed. Others maybe kind of hinted that costs could increase if they found during their reviews. And they're local. So I think based on just even though they weren't the lowest cost or the second to lowest, they just met all the requirements of the RFP, whereas the lowest did indicate that there could be, they made a lot of assumptions that could lead to more cost increase. So based on that, they were selected as the best.
Thank you.
And then I guess to your first question, I would have to look into it more, but I do believe that the community will have some, they will pay for some of this tank replacement with surge. Let me see, I read it earlier.
A fire surcharge?
Yeah, they will be paying, I think I have it in one of the whole board meetings.
But yeah, that's not within the purview of this particular
Yeah.
item.
So yes, so they there's a Measure W that will help pay for the associated charges of the tank replacement. But in general, from talking to engineering, that this tank does have more importance just of providing the water, especially as they look into, like you said, tying into different systems. One of it being the Bennett Spring, that as of right now, that tank is getting water directly from the spring, and so it would be a benefit. It would lower operational costs to get water from another tank that's already treated water. So that would be a separate project, but this tank does have that benefit of providing service to other tanks in the area as well.
Thank you.
a request that if I could, just follow up on that. Thank you, Mike, for speaking to those issues. That's really important. I wonder if if this proceeds to the board, when it does, that the memo articulate the benefits to the local community around the tank and the benefits to the larger community clearly, so that we're all on the same page about the cost benefit of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's really relevant.
Yeah, and this will be coming tomorrow to the board. So I will articulate it in my kind of little speech
Gotcha.
feel.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and I definitely hear your concerns, Michael. I don't want to get off too off track, but this tank does provide significant firefall protection there, and we were just very much at a standstill with the community members up there to be able to move forward. And so this was a necessary solution as far as tank moving. And I do believe, I'm sorry, there's been so many meetings about this, but I do think overall it was a better site. So uh all right, we'll see no further comments from the committee. I have to ask it to go out to public comment. I see no one in the room and no one online. Oh, we have one attendee, but oh, that's just you, Brian. You're showing up as being online. All right, so we can conclude that and move on to our next agenda item, which is,
Elena,
oh, go
we
ahead.
just need to make a motion.
We're making a motion on this one. I'm sorry. Thank you, Jen.
Mhm.
Approve the memo. Oh yeah, recommended motion. Do I have a motion or I can make it too?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract.
I
Okay,
was,
well, you got to read the recommended motion. Do you have it in front of you?
So
I can read it.
Go ahead.
Uh, let's see. I move that the Environmental Committee recommends the Board of Directors to authorize the General Manager to enter an amended and restated agreement with Denise Duffy Associates Incorporated for environmental services of the Felton Heights Tank Replacement Project in the amount of $81,658.
And I will second.
Alina Lane,
Yes.
Ryan Largay,
Yes.
Mike Duffy,
Yes.
and Nikki Franks.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm trying to scroll down through all of this. Maybe I should have gone back up to the top to see what we were calling this one. All right, we can move on to the next agenda item. Here we go. What we're looking at. Oh my. Of the water shortage contingency plan and actions. All right.
Yeah, I'll be taking that one. So at the last committee meeting, we had a request to kind of bring our actions regarding water shortages. So this is the item. And for just a little bit of background on where these water shortage kind of plans and actions came from, the district adopted ordinance number 105 in April 2014, and that established regulations and requirements because there was a water shortage at the time. So then they were in a stage 2 water shortage emergency. They followed up that ordinance number 105 with ordinance number 106, which amended and restated those requirements because the drought was continuing. The next step in our planning was in 2021, we adopted our water shortage contingency plan as part of our urban water management plan. And that was in conjunction with the city of Scotts Valley, who we did the urban water management plan with. And so I've also included as attachment a brief summary of our water shortage stages. In terms of our current status of water shortage, we are in a stage 1 water shortage. And this is based on a number of our intakes still being down from the CZU fire. In terms of our rainfall, last year we were at 75% of our average. And this year we're at like 73% of our average so far. So if we didn't receive any more rain this water year, we would then qualify for a stage 1 water shortage anyways, just based on rainfall totals. Yeah, with that, I'd love to hear any of your questions.
All right, we can start out with Director Largay.
I actually think this is pretty straightforward, and appreciate that we have the various tiers and a method for assigning ourselves to one of those tiers in response to conditions. It's clear to me also that we're effectively in a drought, that this winter was kind of a dud, and being conservative with water by having the stage 1 continued makes good sense to me. I think the whole topic is really interesting and worthy of further communication to the community, to decision makers, including committee members broadly, because I think kind of responsiveness to drought is one of the most proactive things we can do to steward the resource. So anyway, I appreciate the presentation, and I guess I would encourage the district to consider making this presentation or having a slide deck or something that can go to people or be available online, or otherwise just kind of show that there's a discipline around monitoring the system, understanding when we're in drought, categorizing that, and then asking for some restraint on behalf of water users, so that we don't make the situation worse. So anyway, that's all, what I've got from it. So thanks very much for sharing it.
All right, thank you, Director Largay. Nikki Franks?
No, I appreciate the analysis. I also agree with the communication. I think there's a lot of anxiety right now in the valley and broadly because of the lack of rain and snowfall and fire risk. So I think talking about it, being realistic about where we're at, and then providing, options to reduce water consumption, and then also measures that are being taken to be conservative.
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Duffy?
Thank you. This is cool. There's a lot of great information here. Clearly, our region has had to deal with water, and I'm glad this is well thought out, and I recognize it's been done long in the past, but we can take credit for it. Couple of questions. The authority and the processing seems to be wholly within the kind of entity of the water district in its regard to charging fees and fines. There doesn't seem to be like a legal tie parameter regarding like violations of law or anything associated with any of this, if I'm correct.
Yeah, not that I really seen.
And then there is quite a bit about that Santa Margarita and the relationship between Scotts Valley and the SLB. And I guess in cases of drought classifications, do you anticipate the two districts working kind of together? And I guess what happens if one district recognizes a level of drought or a classification that another one doesn't? In other words, do you have one side with water restrictions while the other side perhaps still is allowed to water their lawns or such? Like how are those discrepancies handled if there is any of that? Because again, that water basin is one giant water basin. I don't know if there's an easy answer for that, but I think that just understanding how our relationship with that works in crisis could be important. Other than that, I think that having this available is important. I think a lot of this is well thought out in the processes, and the thresholds are important. It does put a lot, onto the district director. So good luck with that. But thank you for getting this information to us.
Yeah, and to kind of just what I thought of immediately is Scotts Valley is entirely on groundwater, so I could definitely see well, I guess they're not as reliant on rainfall, but in a case where the aquifer is drawn down, I could definitely see them being in more of a shortage emergency than us, where we have surface water. And so I think that's one of the benefits of having our intertie is that if they are in a much needier place, we can help them out.
And that's correct, as long as we have that resource to help
exactly.
them out as well. And it's also like, so if that is the case, and we are going to be, and I'm not saying bailing out, because that's not appropriate, but if we're providing water from one area of our district to help parts of the Santa Margarita district, that is appropriate as long as everybody's following the rules and the processes, and we're not watering, golf courses, which isn't a thing, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, we all have to be in the same boat here for us to be sharing stuff.
Right. That's a good point.
All right, well, I definitely have some questions. So we talk a lot about reduced supply, but that doesn't mean even if our supply reduces, a lot of people we've reduced so much of the demand by asking people to conserve. And I just want to throw this out there. I know we have water, we have our infrastructure that's still down as far as our intakes, and we have rainfall, but I also know the district needs money, and I know those two things are kind of separate. And I'd like to fill my swimming pool this summer. And it's money for the district. Just kind of like, what are your thoughts as far as like what our supply really is versus demand, and how much extra do we really have left over at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, generally, our supply kind of matches our demand. Like we only produce water that's, needed. Obviously, there is loss in the system, whether that's leaks or, wherever else water doesn't actually end up at the tap. But yeah, I mean, where we're currently at would qualify us for the stage one of the shortage, just based on rainfall alone, not even based on the intake still being down. And but yeah, it is having us in stage one just based on the intakes being down is an interesting place to be, because we don't want to like bombard people with messaging about being in stage one and having to like conserve all the time for, we've been in this for years now. I think there could be like an oversaturation in the messaging, and then it kind of doesn't stand as strong. And so that's something that I've been thinking about, is in terms of our communication regarding this, like finding that balance where we're not over communicating about it, so that when it does matter, it still sends a strong message, while at the same time making sure that people aren't wasting water, and we are using this precious resource properly. So yeah, that's just kind of a thought I had.
Okay. Also in the documents it says the districts plan to perform annual water supply and demand assessments in April of each year. Has that been occurring?
Yeah, we submit a report to the I think it's DWR, or the State Water Board. That is the annual water supply and demand assessment. So we do that once annually, and it goes over things like our different things that we're implementing, like restaurants, like having to ask for water at a restaurant, or any of the other measures. We include all those. We include our projected supply and our projected demand. Yeah, so we actually just submitted that this week.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. This is just kind of a random question. It said that SLVWD has a hydrologist. Who's our hydrologist?
Me? No.
Okay.
I don't think we have a hydrologist.
Nick Thompson back in the day.
Oh, not on staff though.
Not
Yeah.
on staff.
So yeah, we do have consulting hydrologists, but
I think he's retired now though. It's been a while.
yeah, but we have a new hydrologist that we work with on projects.
Okay. Yeah, no, in it says SLVWD's hydrologist. I'm like, I didn't think we had one on staff. But okay. Oh, there was just one thing. So this is something that we've been talking a lot over at Santa Margarita Water Agency as far as like one well dropping below the thresholds and they're saying that that's not actually a good actual signal of the overall health of the aquifer looking at one well. And so I just wanted to kind of like point out some of the language that was in there. And it says one RMP of any of the Santa Margarita Aquifer, Monterey Formation, Long Peak Aquifer has a minimum threshold exceedance. And so it's talking about just one of those dropping down. And so I just kind of wanted to communicate what was being said over at Santa Margarita, that they're kind of trying to move away from just one well dropping down. So I guess kind of more of a comment.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like we are implementing more and more monitoring wells through the Santa Margarita groundwater basin. And so I think potentially in a future update, we could have some sort of, average between different monitoring wells or something more along those lines.
Okay.
Can I speak to that, Helena,
Go
while we're
ahead,
on the
Brian.
topic?
I figured you would have more to add to that.
Sure. So, and this gets at the San Lorenzo Valley, Scotts Valley shared resource of the aquifer. The Santa Margarita Groundwater Management Agency is currently subject to a reporting requirement, and there's a fairly detailed report that's submitted annually that describes the various levels and the different wells. And a good portion of our drought management plan is based directly on that. For example, a whole bunch of triggers, groundwater condition triggers, are included in our drought response plan. So if during the Santa Margarita annual monitoring, water levels in different wells drop below a certain threshold, that triggers in our drought plan a stage 1 or a stage 2 type response. And what Alina's referring to is that our monitoring through that is being updated in a current process that is at the committee level and is going to be reviewed by the Santa Margarita Groundwater Agency as a update to that, changing a number of these from, as Alina alludes, one well to a cluster of wells, so that if one were affected for whatever reason, we're looking more of an average in that neighborhood of the aquifer, so to speak. At any rate, I want to call that to your attention, Mike, in case you want to track that and see how it's shaking out. And then the implication is that our whole drought response plan would reasonably be updated in a year once that is all settled. I think the current arc is to work on it into the summer and then have a proposal by the fall to the State Water Board.
Cool.
And you're on that subcommittee, correct, Brian?
That's correct. Yeah, myself and Bob Russ both.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have any questions, you got 2 of those. Yeah, I just kind of comment, if we ever go to update this document, I mean, I feel that pools and spas should always be required to have a cover regardless of stage. And I think it wasn't until stage 2 that they were required, and I just feel like that's kind of common sense. So just a little note for that. And then it said that that both our districts were in the process of completing their risk and resiliency assessment and emergency response plan, that all that happened, correct?
Yeah, we are going through an update. We're starting an update right now, actually, of those. Those are due by the end of the year. Well, one is due by June, one is due by December. So we're in the process of kind of kicking that off.
Okay. And then I saw that Scotts Valley, they said when anything happens, they assign it to a public information officer, but it didn't really say anything for us. And I'm just like, is this as far as they're responsible for monitoring and controlling the release of information. It says about an event. It also serves as a point of contact for news media and other organizations. Is that in someone's duty statement for our district?
Jason.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think generally Carly was managing that before, but more recently we've taken with Miller Maxfield, and more recently we've taken more of that kind of within the organization. Leah has taken on a lot of that role as the secretary, but I think it would kind of be a combination between the environmental department and Leah to make sure that the right information is getting out and is messaged in the right way. Obviously, the whole kind of executive team would have input as to what's happening, but that's generally the how it would be released.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just think it's important to like have this spelled out in someone's duty statement since it is really important. And it's also important for you guys to have in your duty statement. So, when we go back into type of labor negotiations types of stuff, we see what you guys are really, responsible and make sure for, and you're getting paid the appropriate wages. So having this spelled out, if someone is responsible for these tasks that happens, I would recommend that. So. I think that's all that I had. Do we have any further comments from the board? Committee? No? All right, we'll see none. Go out for public comment. We have no one in the room and no one online, and we have no motion with this. This is a discussion only. So I'm not missing that. All right, I think the last thing that we have, I make sure it's on this agenda, is the board comment for any future agenda items. Just make sure before we do it, so we're not talking about something that's not there.
It is there.
It's there.
It is
Items.
there? Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. All right, so yes, if anyone has anything, any general comments from the committee, or for requesting future agenda items, this is your time now. Would anyone like to speak? All right, Mr. Duffy?
I remember at a recent board meeting, they had suggested that the pest management plan come back before the environmental committee. Is that still planned for, and do you have an idea of when that might occur?
Don't have an idea.
Okay.
Yeah, we're workshopping.
Okay, so that will be before us at some point in time.
Yeah, and we are currently conducting the kind of test plots out at Olympia. So hopefully we'll have some exciting information whenever it does come back.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Seeing none, I still have to ask for public comment. No one in the room and no one online. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the meeting, and I think we can call it adjourned at 10:43.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lena.
Yeah, I'll see you in person next month, I hope.